One of the three wedding couples whose ceremony I'll officiate at next month, one of the three couples I met with this week bought a house. And I shared with them when they celebrate, God willing, their 30th wedding anniversary in 2054, they will hopefully realize a stage of life in home buying my wife and I and so many other couples experience. It's called downsizing. Not that it costs less, but it's less square footage. This is the week in Jewish time, my friends, where we experience the supreme example of downsizing, which is the sukkah. Once a year, we leave the couches and the TV and the living room and the paintings and the den and everything else we have, and we go outside, as we will do tonight to end this service. We go outside for a week and we eat and drink. Some people even sleep in the sukkah. It has none of the comforts of home. None, no cable. And yet, we have a good time, a very good time. I've never met anyone who said that they didn't experience a sukkah as not fun. The famous 14th century Jewish text from Toledo, Spain, Minorat HaMaor, which means the lamp of illumination, has a great comment on why we go into a sukkah this week. Listen to what Minorat HaMaor says. The commandment to dwell in the sukkah is intended to teach us that a person must not put his or her trust in the size or the strength of one's house, even if it is filled with the best of everything. There you have it. The purpose of the sukkah is to remind us that a house, whatever its square footage, is only a house. There are people who live miserable lives in mansions, and there are people who live happy lives in mansions. There are people who live miserable lives in hovels, and there are people who live happy lives in small apartments. It's not the size of the house that determines the quality of our lives. It is the life that takes place inside that determines the quality of our lives. My father of blessed memories, co-rabbi in Dayton, Ohio, Jack Reamer, put it well, and I quote, "There is no building frailer than a sukkah is. The average sukkah does not have much square footage. But if you are a couple or a family that gets along, you can find room to dwell in a small sukkah. And you can find even room for company and invited guests into your sukkah as well. As the Talmud puts it, and I quote, if two people are in love, they can live comfortably on the edge of a sword. If two people are not in love, a house with 60 rooms feels crowded." That's a direct quote from the Talmud. Since this is the only Shabbat during Sukkot, when we remember creation and our vast place in this world, the sukkah is also a reminder of our fragility amidst eternity. Or as another great rabbi and friend, David Wolpe, says, you have to be able to look through the roof of the sukkah, the schach, and see the stars. Because if you can't see the heavens, the sukkah isn't kosher. In other words, even in the midst of fragility, you also have an eye on eternity. Sukkot is fundamentally about what Buddhists love to talk about, impermanence. And that's the paradox of this one holiday named many things, Chag HaAsiv, Chag HaSukkot, but Zman Simchatenu, the time of our joy. You wouldn't think that something like the sukkah that emphasizes the fragility of life would make you happy. But the truth is that everything in life depends on its one day ending. The certainty of ending heightens what exists. Yom Kippur taught us last Friday night that your life is fragile, so make the most of it while you can. Sukkot keeps up the pressure this week, saying, your home and your belongings are all fragile, not just you. One reason why we go from Rosh Hashanah and Yom Kippur to Sukkot is that having had the world given to us on Rosh Hashanah, remember the Jewish New Year celebrates the birthday of the world. Now that the world has been created, we now have to build something. We have to create something out of the world. And the sukkah is our first gesture, with the first nail that our wonderful temple volunteers drove into the wood studs the day after Yom Kippur when we were here last Sunday. They were saying for all of us, having been redeemed and having the world created, now I want to make it better and build something, even if it's fragile and temporary. In the beautiful book, to which I contributed very little, but my friend Abby Pogreben wrote this book called One Jewish Year, where she interviewed a bunch of us rabbis and cantors on each of the holidays, all 24, if you count the minor ones. Abby interviewed my college classmate in LA, Rabbi Naomi Levy, who said this, using the marriage metaphor. At Passover, the Jewish people and God got engaged. We started dating. 50 days later on Shavuot, when we received the 10 Commandments, that was our marriage contract, our ketubah. So what is Sukkot? It's our chuppah. Sukkot is the wedding. And the chuppah and a sukkah are really parallels. So why is Sukkot a forgotten holiday by the overwhelming majority of Jews? Unless you're living a beautiful, traditional, frum life, which 90% of American Jews are not. Is that we're in the synagogue so much for Rosh Hashanah and last week for 24 hours? Is it that we're burnt out from all this Judaism or Jewish practice? Another LA rabbi friend, Ed Feinstein, has a different theory. He suggests that Sukkot is a forgotten holiday because Sukkot, Judaism, leaving Sukkot behind, is so cerebral and so spiritual and so mental that Jewish tradition forgot that people have bodies. And this is a holiday that's visceral. This is a holiday about your body. You build something. And he adds, and this is my bit of humor before I close. He adds, one of the reasons for Sukkot is for Jewish men to prove to their wives, lovers, and daughters that they can actually build something with their hands. Abby laughed in the interview with Rabbi Feinstein, and she asked, "You mean because Jewish men generally are not handy?" Ed replies, "Yes. Most Jews think that Black & Decker is a law firm. This is a holiday about the body. This is a holiday about feasting. This is a holiday about dancing, which we're going to do this Wednesday at 6 o'clock to end the holiday outside, beginning in a somber way because the anniversary of October 7th in Jewish time is this Wednesday evening, not October 7th. But this is a holiday about sitting outside and letting the sun shine down on you and feeling it on your face as the weather turns to fall. Once a year on Sukkot, we get kicked out of our house. So thank you all for being here tonight in the Shabbat Sukkot, when we experience the joy of downsizing and we build with joy under the stars outside, gazing at the stars and the ones we love, a taste of eternity amidst the fragility, a reminder that wherever we live, we are all we need so long as we have each other and the faith that we are not alone. The message of Sukkot is that enough is enough.